And welcome to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif. And this week, I am thrilled, Mike, to introduce and to have join us someone who's been long anticipated to join our show, Kelly McKenna,
Yes.
who's Executive Director of Barrie's Downtown BIA. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Great.
Hello, Kelly.
Good morning.
And Kelly,
Good morning.
I tell you, first I'm going to get you to introduce yourself a little bit to our audience, but you picked one hell of a time to land a new position, and a very challenging position at that. Why don't you give us a second of an introduction as to who you are and what your role is in downtown Barrie?
Sure. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Arif. So I did start as the executive director of the Downtown Barrie Business Association on March 3rd, just a few days before the pandemic. And looking very forward to the role and rolling up my sleeves and really embracing the downtown and all the passion that is down there. But I certainly didn't expect to have to deal with a pandemic as well. But it's been any entrepreneur's dream, really. And I do come from a business entrepreneurial background, and I tell you the amounts of times I've had to try and see where the gaps are for our members and pivot and rethink the whole thing. It's been an entrepreneur's dream, really, this job. So
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about the role of the BIA. Maybe starting with, what does BIA stand for?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. So it's the business improvement area. And so it's a geographical location that encompasses the downtown core. And it represents all of the commercial property owners, all of the non-residential tenants. So whether that's retail, commercial, and basically we represent the business owners, residents, and visitors of this downtown core. And what our purpose is to try to improve the area for these people to live and to do their business. So,
Let me jump in there, and I want to get, sometimes I hear it as, I believe, as a common misconception. I want to get it right on the table, right up front, because there are those who quite understandably believe or think that the activities or incentives or programming that is run in the downtown is funded by the taxpayer. And so you'll often see a misconception that says, I didn't vote for that. That's not my tax dollars at work or something like that. Why don't you clarify, where is your funding coming from, Kelly, and who really supports that, and how do those decisions get made?
Yeah, no, that's really good. Thank you. Because there is a slight differentiation in the tax. So anybody that is in this business improvement area pay their regular taxes to the city, but there's an additional levy on top of that funds the business improvement area. So it is just the people in that designated area of the downtown that have a special levy that funds the organization. And so with those funds, our role is to really improve the area and make it conducive to do business and live in. So it's a special levy that helps us accomplish those goals.
And you raise additional funds, I'm presuming, through various activities that you sponsor and promote. Is that right?
Yeah,
like the
absolutely.
curb appeal is the first one that comes to mind. And
Yeah, no, that's right, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we're at the downtown core, so we've got tons of partners and supporters across Barrie. A lot of the activities we do are sponsored. People in the community will help us take it to that next level with some sponsorship, where we might be able to have a small event with that extra partnerships and sponsorships from the community. We can make it an extraordinary event. So
right.
yeah.
So one of the things
does.
One of the things that comes to mind, though, Kelly, is that you don't just represent the business. I mean, you do, but there's an objective, there's a purpose. And obviously, it's, from my perspective, it takes into consideration tourism as well as in attracting the local economy, whether they are people who live within the downtown core or live slightly on the outskirts of the downtown. Obviously, you're trying to look to bolster or boost business and longevity of visits into the downtown core. But it's not really what I've come to learn during my time sitting with the BIA was it wasn't an us or them. You've actually got some support from folks like in the South End retailers, one of the plazas, there's the Park Place, for example. But really, it's looking at the downtown as its own mall, if you will. And there is a challenge. I mean, what is the difference between a retailer doing business in the downtown and a retailer doing business in the mall?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, totally, a totally different type of business model. Because when you're in the mall, you have to abide by certain regulations of what times you have to open, what times you can be closed. And when what I hear from my business owners downtown is they love the independence of actually owning a shop, being owner operated. They can be unique. There's no policies, regulations as such as what time they can open or, how their doors look. So
Yeah.
the great thing about the downtown shops is that they're each unique, have their own flair, and they're owner operated. I mean, most of the businesses downtown currently are owned and operated by women, which is just incredible. I mean, we have a very concentrated core of female entrepreneurs in the downtown, which is very exciting.
I hadn't done the math. I didn't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that a good number of the concerns and needs of a small business along Dunlop Street or anywhere in the downtown is going to be directed at City Hall. Now, does a business typically come through you? Do you act as like an advocate or a lobbyist on behalf of the downtown business for their needs and wants? Maybe you can just tell us how that dynamic plays out.
Kelly, I'm going to give you 30 seconds and I'm going to cut you off. We'll go to break and we'll pick it up. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm here to be the voice of our membership, so we have close to 600 in our membership, and that's property owners, commercial retailers. And so, my purpose is to have their voice, to advocate on their behalf, and to create an environment that is conducive to them to do business and is attractive to bring people back downtown.
That is a perfect segue. We're going to go to break real quick. And when we come back, we're going to talk with you some more because you're no stranger to having that sort of political hat on and learning how to, navigate those tough waters. So we're going to go to break real quick, and we'll be back with Kelly McKenna, Executive Director of Downtown Barrie's BIA. And welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif. And we're fortunate to have Kelly McKenna, who's the Executive Director of the Downtown Barrie BIA, joining us today. Kelly, I'm so glad you're here. lots going on in the downtown. Let's get into some of the challenges that you and your clients, the people you represent, have faced over the last year. Obviously, there's some construction going on downtown. You parcel that with a pandemic that we'll get into a little bit later, and you face some uphill battles. What are you doing downtown to make it through?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. The downtown has been under construction for, nearly 2 years. We are just at the tail end. By, the end of November, we're due to be finished the project, which will be right from Mulcaster to Toronto. So the entire Dunlop Street, east and west, is getting a facelift. And it looks fabulous. I mean, the sidewalks are wider. There's lovely little cobblestone features. There's new greenery on the street, places to park and lock your bikes. So this new streetscape is really helping to, relook at the downtown and recognize how beautiful and unique it is in the province of Ontario.
So let's talk about just something, and I have to just push a bit of a button and talk about sort of the elephant in the room. Obviously, every downtown area across Ontario, across the world, probably has some challenges. There are some folks, some people who do live in our community who consider the downtown their home, but they don't have a roof over their head. They're homeless, they're living rough, they face certain challenges. And Barrie is in a unique position that also it's really considered the capital of sort of the region, Central Ontario. So we have services for those who are disadvantaged, services for those who do face challenges, certainly including mental health. And that has played a bit of a tug of war back and forth with either residents who choose that they don't want to come downtown, or proprietors who feel like it has been a challenge with their business because we haven't found that right balance on how to live harmoniously. And sort of what's the role of the BIA and how are you working to address that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely recognize it's one of the challenges downtown, but we're not unique to that challenge. When we have comparable cities like Cambridge, Kitchener, really we're in a very in a very good spot in Barrie. And we have a community response unit team downtown, that are designated just for the core to help with these challenges. So we feel that the BIA feels that in partnership with all of these organizations, we can come to great solutions. Any one of us operating in a silo is not going to accomplish that. So, we're really grateful to be invited at the table, to be working with these partners to find good solutions for our downtown.
It's an unenviable position, obviously, but it's good to hear that there is some collaboration going on there. But you talked earlier in the first segment about the focus that the BIA has on developing the residential component in the downtown, and why is that a factor for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this board of directors has struck some goals and objectives for which we are, focusing all of our efforts towards. And one of those goals is residential development. And we really feel that, there's some great places in the downtown that already exist up on the second and third stories of some of these great retail shops, great funky little places to live. We've got some great landlords downtown, fixing them up, making them nice. And we really want to attract, that sort of millennial, younger iGen people to the downtown to live and work. And we also have, some great condo developments on the horizon, where we know that when these come to fruition, our population's going to grow by close to 20%. So the downtown is going to look different, which is already underway, and it's going to feel a lot different with more people living downtown.
I think as well with the pandemic, a lot of behaviors are changing with people, and I think the way people shop is going to change. Shopping malls, tons of people under one roof may not be as attractive to many as it once was, and that's going to enhance business. I want to go back to what we kind of started with, talking about you taking on your role, and I think your first order of business was along the lines of duck and cover, with the pandemic coming in almost immediately. So that's, I mean, your goals have remained in place, but you've probably had to reshape or add to some of those directions, because every business, municipality, and association has to be considering, rethinking their roles. How has the BIA been looking at the downtown through maybe a different lens or a wider lens, as a result of the pandemic that sits over us? Maybe you can tell us some of the things that you're putting into play to cope with that.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. So when I started in March, the team were planning promenade days and our craft
Hmm.
beer barbecue festival, which attracts hundreds of
Get-togethers.
thousands, yes, of people. We obviously couldn't do any of that. And so
Hmm.
we were really thinking about, whoa, what can we do to add value for our members?
Yeah.
And so we pivoted really quickly. The first thing we did was we recognized that a lot of our downtown businesses, while they had like an online presence with a Facebook page or an Instagram page, they didn't have the ability to take e-commerce, transactions
Right.
on their online. So, and that was about 70% of them didn't have online transaction capability. So when
Hmm.
we recognized that their doors were closed, the first thing we did was we created the Lifeline, and that's a transaction ability on our website where you can buy gift cards to any one of our downtown businesses, and we filtered that money directly to the business during those times that they were closed, and then the patrons knew that when the businesses opened up again, they could come in and use their gift cards. But
That's great.
it was a great way just to support people when their doors were closed. Over $15,000 worth of gift cards have been bought,
Mhm.
through
Wow.
the downtown businesses. So it's been a success. And it's ongoing because it gives our businesses that e-commerce ability.
Hmm.
Well, that's an
And how?
interesting. Oh, we've got to go to break, but I think I would wrap that up with saying it'll never happen to me, or someday finally arrived, and it did happen. So I'm so glad that the BIA was able to pivot and provide that service. We've got to go to break. When we come back, Mike, I want you to pick up where you left off, and we've got some other things we talk about of what does the future of city planning and the future development for the city of Barrie look like. Stay with us in Hitting Home with Mike and Arif.
Welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif, and we're here with Kelly McKenna, who is the Executive Director of the BIA. And we're talking about the interesting year they're having, and all of us are having here with the pandemic, and how they've been adjusting and readjusting their focus. And I know there's a lot of new activities that have been spurned as a result of COVID-19, and certainly on the heels of all the construction and shutdown that's been going on in the downtown Barrie. Maybe Kelly, you can tell us a bit about, I believe it all comes under the umbrella of Autumn in the City. Am I right with that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Mike. Yeah, so we're really encouraging people to fall in love with their new downtown this fall. And we weren't really able to do a whole big bunch over the summer with COVID and figuring out, our regulations around how many people. So this Autumn in the City is really part of our economic recovery plan for our downtown. And open air Dunlop is something that was that has been talked about forever, I think, in Barrie, and pedestrianizing Dunlop Street. And so for every Saturday until October 17th, we are closing down Dunlop Street from Mulcaster to Clapperton and inviting people to come down and walk, ride their bikes. Last weekend was our first weekend. We had people scootering, we had people rollerblading. It was fantastic. And just really to come down and fall in love again with the downtown. The other thing,
No, I gotta say, Kelly,
yeah.
my takeaway from that is, if you want to get the city council to actually do something a little bit bold, you got to have a pandemic to make them shut down the streets, because that's been talked about for years and decades. So congratulations.
Oh, I've been a strong advocate for that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I had to.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be really, we wanted to listen to our membership. We know that the general population were really gung ho, but we did have some reservations around among our members. So we wanted to take, time to make sure that we were considering their concerns with pedestrianization. And that's why this is a bit of a pilot. So, every Saturday for 4 Saturdays is really the ability, gives us the ability to see how it works, see if it helps our businesses. And like I said, so far after our first weekend, we've had nothing but positive responses.
Yeah.
Somebody said they walked down Dunlop Street and it looked more like Niagara on the Lake than it ever has. So
Yeah.
One of the concerns I hear from people, and I don't think it's a supportable concern, is everybody says, well, if they're closing Dunlop Street, where am I going to park? Maybe you can just let everybody know just how much parking is available within a block or two, or certainly within a shorter distance than the walk from one end of the Georgian Mall parking lot to the front doors. Just to remind people that parking's not an issue. Like, do you have a number there? Do you know how many public parking spaces are available?
Yes, Mike, there's over 2,000 public parking spaces in the downtown.
That's adequate.
Yeah, and they're all within walking distance of Dunlop. And we've done a great little map on our website that shows the walking, how long it takes you to walk from each parking spot. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
That's great.
So we're very cognizant of this, of this concern with downtown parking, but most of these parking spots are within 1 to 2 minute parking or walking distance. To your point, is a lot closer than the Georgian Mall. So
yeah. So I'm gonna offer you this. So we recently had a wonderful guest on the show, Nick Nanos, and he talked about, with the pandemic, this isn't going away anytime soon. It's not going to go away, and in 30 days business will be back to normal. We are looking at designing and figuring out what the new normal is. And he says city planning, or urban planning in general, will have to strongly take into consideration building more small communities or walkable communities. So no longer driving to the mall, no longer, getting in the car to drive to the grocery store, but walkable communities. And that's really what the downtown is. Obviously, you want more residents in there. So I think you're onto something here, and you're going to want to see that, flourish and nurture. I think your next challenge, though, is going to be how to get retailers to stay open into the evening a little bit longer. When people come home from their commute or their telecommute or their video conference sessions and to go out for an evening, how to get the retailers to stay open longer. Any thoughts on that? Is that even a discussion on the table?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, during COVID, honestly, Arif, everyone is just trying to do what they can do, and I agree. You know, when we get to some sort of normalization again, trying to coordinate that will be one of our goals for sure. But just to speak to the mix of the downtown, and one of the goals of our board right now, around the residential development piece is we recognize that the downtown needs a pharmacy, needs an upscale LCBO and grocery store, to really fill in that mix around the planning piece and the support for that residential development. So while we're not in the investment attraction world, we do work with our property owners and know what square footage we have
Yeah.
downtown, and are trying to connect those investors with property in our core to
Yeah.
help complement that residential development.
Mike, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm quite confident with the increase in population with the new condominiums and developments that are bringing, more feet onto the ground in the downtown. That's going to be an eye opener for a lot of businesses. So I think we're going to see a lot of those shops that, make it a nice walkable visit to the downtown, where you can hit the deli, the butcher, the fishmonger, the baker, the cheese shop, and all of those things all in one little 2 or 3 block walk. So I look forward to that opportunity in downtown Barrie.
Absolutely, Kelly. I want to give you an opportunity to shamelessly plug the BIA and its members. What can people do after they've watched the show and they're intrigued? Where do they go? What do they do to find out more? You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, just come down on Saturday and see it for yourself. I mean, we were blessed with Mother Nature last weekend, but some people don't like it hot and some people like it a little chillier. So this Saturday, wrap yourself up, come down. We've got some great art happening as well downtown, so you can support some local artists as well, and just really fall back in love with the downtown. If you haven't been, sorry,
what's your website?
Downtownbarrie.ca.
And your Facebook?
Same thing, at Downtown Barrie.
Perfect. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us on Hitting Home. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that you're doing, and we'll be down on the weekend for sure, but we wish you all the best, and obviously all your storefront owners as well. Thanks for joining us on Hitting Home with Mike and Arif.